Mind the Gap, Lithium New Deal by Shaima and my colleague Meredith. Addressing the impending climate crisis in a time of increased reliance on lithium, can solution based on old extraction methods and mass production set the path for a greener future?
Is it enough that we meet this moment with narratives of national security and global competition instead of opportunities to reimagine and rebuild our relationship with the wounded planet?
Despite the forward-thinking goals of the Biden bills, policies fail to address the significant environmental impact of lithium dependency. Building on the ambitious Green New Deal legislation, our project proposes that we meet the climate crisis with designs and policies that oppose the damage from mining. This 220-mile transect cuts across additional sites of interest, new lithium prospection sites, tribal lands, ecological and energy corridors, and military and mining towns. Bringing together all these systems through mapping analysis, the project identifies a constellation of potential nodes of intervention, targeting conflicts and areas of concern. The first analysis shows crucial habitat and focal areas and disruption by human infrastructure, such as the west-wide energy corridor and multiple mines, posing a threat to the efficiency of large patches of land reserved for habitat protection and connectivity in Nevada. This second analysis overlaps stretches of human infrastructure, like roads, railroads, that interfere with the animal migration patterns and therefore risk wildlife survival, both through fragmentation and car accidents. This final analysis shows indigenous communities and how potential community expansion could grow within the context of public land and military bases.
To get the full picture of the analysis, a synthesized map shows where some systems are preventing others from thriving. Identifying moments of intensity for these conflict types initiates a motive for a design intervention supporting the equality for the ecological, economic, and social cultures. So based on these conflict zones identified in the synthesized map, we go further by calling out the actors involved in each conflict, such as federal government agencies like the Bureau of Land Management, ecological communities, state government agencies, and private mining companies. So the first implant. This implant addresses the conflict between lithium mining, processing, manufacturing, transportation, and animal migration crucial habitat. It is collected in a way that a design of a sensor could be implemented into the ground of a main highway to receive signals, to receiver signals. Once heard, animal migration is in action where the cars are forcibly stopped. The digital fence is made to fence the human action and prevent it from interfering with the wildlife flow.
Zoomed in to one of the areas where the implants would be located shows the number of areas of repetition, which would create a network of safe passages. This implant addresses the conflict between lithium mining, processing, and manufacturing, and the human health of the indigenous communities on the other hand, and the populated areas on the way. It is collected in a way that a design of algae containers could be implemented and attached to an architectural installation where a recreational gathering could take a place. People could have a fresh air more often away from industries, encouraging by that the expansion of a clean air space. Taking one area of focus, showing the neighboring communities to each other, where the addition of this implant could enhance the socio-culture factor between the two areas, as well as the health factor.
This is the Lithium New Deal Commission, and it is a state-level special commission established by state legislature. And its purpose is to regulate the increasingly prevalent lithium mining industry in Nevada. It is composed of tribal leaders, community leaders, and experts who guide the implementation of the other various implant types. This is the first of the policy implants. So in this implant, the state body of the commission is located in Tahoe Reno Industrial Park, and the stewardship councils are the sub-regional offices for both enforcement and meetings.
This implant addresses the conflict between lithium mining, processing, and manufacturing and the indigenous communities and populated areas. It is collected in a way that a design of a water extraction element, in addition to a structural element that promote for planting. This implant could be inserted into the ground of an area where groundwater is available, and communities could still extract their water the local way while also being in a recreational spot that activates the social and the sense of togetherness. A radius of communities would have this potential and source of groundwater. Repeating the implant within this area of communities would limit the distance and would help enhancing the identity for each meeting points of communities and the public lands as well as the military base, which will automatically enhance the limitation of expansion. This implant addresses the conflict between lithium mining and the crucial habitat. It is collected in a way that a design element of a tower could be inserted into the mining pool, elevating by that the crucial habitat taken over by mining companies. It is turning into a policy where mining companies must add a tower for each pool expansion they aim for. This slide shows the pending mining location and the crucial habitat conflict, where the addition of the towers could be repeated as much as these mines are expanding. The repetition of the towers would create a network of continuous flow of habitat uninterrupted by the mining pools.
And another policy-based implant, this is the Ecological Community Benefits Agreement, which can be implemented to define the responsibilities of the mining corporations, developers, transportation departments, and water resources departments to the impacted social and ecological community and its representatives. This agreement can be put into action under the supervision of the Lithium New Deal Commission, which is the regulatory agency involved, which was created to oversee the Lithium New Deal. So for example, Silver Peak might incorporate an ecological community benefits agreement tailored to the circumstances under which the tower implant would be required to counteract any damage done through lithium extraction, so that the ecological outcome is a higher value ecosystem than currently exists at the site.
This implant addresses the conflict between lithium mining tailings and 3 areas of animal migration, crucial habitat, and communities' accessibility to the public lands. It is collected in a way that a design of wall compressors could direct the distribution of tailings in a way that creates a grid system of organized waste and opens the road and spaces, as well as protecting the lives of the affected ones, while allowing for plants and animals that are capable of handling the saltness to grow within the system. Areas where the current mining happening in addition to the pending mining. The addition of this implant would create a grid of isolated tailings that would only work for the adaptive species. Repetition of this implant within such a zone would create a system of tailings storing that would act as a third landscape. This implant addresses the conflict between lithium mining and transportation with the community's accessibilities and the usage of public lands, groundwater. It is collected in a way that a design of a group of elements that do the job of controlling the water consumption by mining companies, as well as allowing communities to be upfront with the water contamination conditions as well as being up to date with their underground rights, access of water. This slide shows the implant acting as a main factor between multiple conflict zones, where heavy use of water is happening by humans, companies, and wildlife.
So, what do these implants look like once deployed? We can imagine an oasis tower standing bastion in the lithium pools of Silver Peak. Vegetation gathered by birds take root in soil, and evaporation from the ponds below provide moisture for an environment to thrive. And then we have an algae filtration system implanted into buildings, which also provides spaces for people to gather. People in this indigenous community use the space for social events. And then here we have local water extraction and filtration systems, which become integrated into existing irrigation practices. Mining companies like Albemarle Company operating in Silver Peak can keep track of their water consumption and plan their operations accordingly with this groundwater implant. So, our question is, would these implants, by performing over time in a green way, fill the gap of equity between human needs and nature?
Good job.